In a world dominated by digital music, where 1,000 songs fit in your pocket, have you ever paused to consider the silent, forgotten ancestors of the MP3? What if I told you that the very devices and formats that paved the way for our digital audio revolution didn't just fade away, but in some cases met bizarre, untimely ends, their stories far stranger than you could imagine? To truly grasp the seismic shift brought by the MP3, we have to journey back to the dawn of recorded sound. Imagine for a moment the year 1877. Thomas Edison, a name synonymous with innovation, unveils his phonograph. This wasn't merely a new gadget, it was a revelation, a machine that could capture and replay the human voice. Before this, sound was ephemeral, existing only in the moment it was produced. Edison's invention changed everything, offering the tantalizing promise of immortality for sound. Early phonographs used tinfoil sheets, then wax cylinders, leading to a sprawling industry built around physical objects holding auditory ghosts. Then came the gramophone and the flat disc, eventually evolving into the iconic vinyl record by the 1940s. Vinyl, with its warm, rich sound, became the dominant format for decades. It was a tangible experience. The artwork, the liner notes, the ritual of placing the needle. But vinyl was fragile, susceptible to scratches, and far from portable. Enter the cassette tape in the 1960s, a compact, robust, and crucially recordable format. Cassettes democratized music, allowing anyone to record their own mixtapes, share music with friends, and take their tunes on the go with the Walkman. These were the titans of their time, the undisputed kings of audio, each representing a monumental leap in how humanity interacted with sound. Yet, even as they reigned, the seeds of their eventual decline were being sown quietly in laboratories and research facilities, hinting at a future where even these mighty formats would become footnotes. The 1980s heralded a new era, one that promised crystal clear sound and indestructible media, the compact disc or CD. Launched to much fanfare, the CD was an immediate sensation. It was digital, meaning no more hiss, no more pops, no more degradation from repeated plays. It offered a seemingly perfect replication of sound. The industry embraced it, consumers flocked to it, and vinyl sales plummeted. Cassettes, while still clinging on due to their portability and recordability, were clearly on borrowed time. The CD offered an unparalleled audio experience for its time, a clean, pristine sound that felt futuristic. But even as the CD reigned supreme, a new, insidious technology was brewing, one that would make the CD itself seem clunky and inefficient before long. We're talking about digital compression. While the CD stored every single bit of audio data, some brilliant minds were figuring out how to discard the sounds human ears couldn't quite perceive without sacrificing perceived quality. This concept, known as perceptual coding, was the brainchild of researchers, primarily at the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. They were developing algorithms that could dramatically shrink audio files, making them small enough to be transmitted over nascent internet connections or stored on increasingly affordable computer hard drives. The early 90s saw the first attempts at portable digital audio, clunky devices that tried to shove CD-quality music onto expensive, limited memory. But these were still tethered to the idea of complete, uncompressed audio. The true revolution wasn't in storing more data, it was in intelligently getting rid of it. This was the moment where the stage was being meticulously set for a format that few understood, but which would change music forever and leave the giants of the past wondering what hit them. The real earthquake hit in the mid to late 1990s with the emergence of the MP3. It wasn't just a new format, it was an entirely different philosophy of audio. Suddenly, an entire album could be compressed into a file small enough to be emailed, downloaded, or shared online, all without a significant perceived loss in quality for the average listener. The implications were staggering. For the first time, music was untethered from physical media. No more trips to the music store, no more scratch CDs, no more cumbersome storage. Instead, vast libraries of music could reside on a single computer hard drive. This wasn't just a convenience, it was a cultural shift. The music industry, still basking in the glow of CD profits, was caught completely off guard. They saw MP3s as piracy, a threat to their very existence, and largely failed to understand the underlying technological and cultural currents driving its adoption. They fought it, demonized it, launched lawsuits, yet the MP3, like an unstoppable tide, continued to spread. Remember Napster? It became a symbol of this seismic shift, offering a peer-to-peer network where millions of songs could be freely shared. The industry's reaction was often slow, clumsy, and ineffective, resulting in a game of whack-a-mole they were destined to lose. They tried to create their own digital formats, often with restrictive digital rights management, DRM, that frustrated users. Think of formats like Real Audio or Windows Media Audio. Ambitious, yes, but ultimately unable to compete with the simplicity and ubiquity of the MP3. Companies that had dominated for decades suddenly found their business models crumbling. Tower Records, a behemoth in music retail, eventually filed for bankruptcy. Record labels, once powerful gatekeepers, lost their monopoly on distribution. Artists, too, found new ways to connect directly with fans, circumventing the traditional industry machine. The MP3 didn't just digitize music, it democratized it, for better or worse. It disrupted an entire ecosystem built on plastic and paper, ushering in an era of digital commerce and unprecedented accessibility. This truly was the moment where the ancestors, the vinyl, the cassettes, even the mighty CD became relics of a bygone era, not having simply evolved, but having been utterly outmaneuvered by an invisible, highly efficient predator of data. They didn't just fade, they were systemically made obsolete by a technology that understood the future before the establishment did. This was the silent, brutal truth of technological evolution, playing out in real time, leaving behind a trail of abandoned factories, empty record stores, and a lingering question. Had the industry been too slow, too complacent to see the writing on the digital wall? So, what does this tell us about the ancestors of the MP3? They weren't just stepping stones, they were entire civilizations of sound, each with its own triumphs, cultures, and eventual declines. From Edison's marvel to the ubiquitous cassette and then the pristine CD, each format served its purpose, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in audio. The MP3, however, didn't just build upon them. It redefined the very concept of music consumption, forcing an industry to contend with a future it hadn't anticipated. It taught us a stark lesson. Innovation is relentless, and clinging to the past is a guaranteed path to irrelevance. While vinyl has seen a nostalgic resurgence and cassettes are making a quirky comeback, these are niche movements, echoes of a time before the absolute dominance of digital files. The MP3's legacy is not just in the files on our phones, but in the entire streaming ecosystem that followed. It proved that convenience, accessibility, and efficiency often trump perfect fidelity for the masses. But the story doesn't end there. Technology continues its march. High-resolution audio, spatial sound, and new compression techniques are constantly emerging, ensuring that even the MP3, once revolutionary, will eventually find itself in the ancestry books of future audio formats. The question then becomes, what will be the next MP3? What format, perhaps already being quietly developed, will render our current digital darlings obsolete? And when that happens, how will our current digital audio, the very things we take for granted, face their own strange and unexpected demise?